What I am curious about is if Wei is going to sample Dana White's power slap. They held a press conference today in New York City, which I logged into this press conference Wei, like 5 or 10 minutes into it. There were 61 people watching this stream on YouTube.
Wow,
meaning,
really?
Meaning more people watch like our shows than we're tuning into this. It's funny because Dana White has gone out of his way to share his not so great feelings towards the MMA media. He famously put together this like hit piece on the media about the criticism he received during the pandemic. This thing, it was like, if there was not any MMA media there would have been no one at this thing. This thing was like, it's just going to be MMA outlets that are going to follow this because of Dana White. But to its credit, they have secured a TV deal with TBS to start it's going to be an 8-episode series starting in January. And it sounds like they're completely doing the Ultimate Fighter formula. They've got Craig Piligian, who was the main producer behind Ultimate Fighter. And it's going to, they did not say where on the night of the week that is going to air. But looking at historically, what was a huge boost for Ultimate Fighter was immediately following wrestling. And if you're TBS, Wednesday at 10 would make a whole lot of sense for this thing. But I look at this and there's been a lot of criticism about this, just like with the head trauma, and they are really pushing the health and safety being at the forefront of all this. But there's a lot of like pushback about this. Like anyway. So this is going to air in January. And I mean, you have to at least look at the fact that they got a television deal, which is pretty noteworthy when you consider the fact that, AEW has been trying to sell ROH. And, it looks like this will be a reality series. They're casting now, but I don't know. This to me is like a niche of a niche of a niche. Like, can you see this at all having any kind of a following? If this series is a success, if they like, is there a novelty to this? There certainly was when it became a craze a couple years ago on iPay-per-view, but they're a very small segment of people who were watching these on like Fight and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, a niche of a niche of a niche, I think might have been a way somebody might have described the UFC once upon a time. And, the history we all kind of know of how that exploded via this reality TV show. I mean, what this has going for it is the fact that it's Dana, it's the Fertittas, it's the people that brought you the Ultimate Fighter. And you can argue that, if the presentation is strong enough, I mean, maybe they can get any sort of unique sport over. This to me, though, feels like it's too much of a sideshow. Again, I haven't really watched any of this stuff. So maybe there's some sort of legitimacy to it that I certainly don't see from like some of these previews.
Can you pull up the glossary that they handed out at this thing? They have so they apparently they handed it out. Jose Young's from MMA Fighting tweeted this, but they have like rules here. The brand. Power Slap is comprised of the best strikers and defenders in the world. The organization should always be referred to primarily as Power Slap. Alternately, it may also be referred to as Slap. Do not use terms such as Slap Fight, Slap Fighting Championship, or Power Slap League. Like they're giving out like their directions of how you are. Like this is so
it's very
Vince-like, and even to a degree, like this feels like UFC back in like 2004, 2005, when they were starting to really, sell themselves to media just to try and cover them and such. But
you watch the previews. I mean, if you've seen any sort of slap fighting, I mean, visually, of course, it's quite startling seeing somebody slap another person full force. Okay,
no defense. It's like this is just like rattling a dude's like head hard as you can.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not a closed fist, but I mean, it's you're the whole trailer, and I'm not gonna play it here. I don't want to get flagged, but like you see, seek it out yourself. It's just concussion after concussion after concussion. People falling and dropping. It's all. It's it's. I think maybe I don't know the scariest part of UFC. Um, with head trauma and that's it. So I mean I with MMA, I think very quickly you watch The Ultimate Fighter, and like if you had any sort of like reservations about this being human cockfighting, if you watch a show and if you see these fighters train for it, you like the technique, and you quickly see the athleticism that goes into it. They're gonna have to, work pretty hard, I think, to convince people like me that this is anything more than just like, you know, uh, can you concuss me? What is this me with me standing in front of you? It's it already looks to be too much for somebody of my taste. But I mean, there might be a market for it,
And Nevada has sanctioned this like just a few weeks ago, and I mean that. They have a commission now that is regulating this. More from this. So you can call them matches, a matchup, or a match. No bouts. And then the best one is they can be referred to as fighters, competitors, strikers, defenders, no slappers. Do not call them. They really don't want the connotation of slap fighting, but they are calling themselves power slap. It's very all over the place. So I just don't understand why you send this out to people that like they are going to like this is so WWE of they are superstars, not wrestlers, and who is like going to follow this.
I mean, it seems incredibly like entitled, like you should be grateful that you get to cover our slap fighting organization, and to do so, you better follow our rules. Otherwise, you do not have the privilege of covering our slap fighting competition. Yeah, and you weren't kidding, John, but like this press conference getting very little attention for something that Dana and the Fertitas are attached to. I would expect a lot more than 399 views for something that was streamed 8 hours ago. Okay.
Wow.
Like our fucking like Raw review gets a lot more than this just off of the stream itself.
And we're a small YouTube channel. Like we're
oh my God. Are you kidding me? Like I mean, is there buzz for
like,
this
dude,
thing?
they put this on the UFC YouTube channel, which has 14.5 million subscribers, and it's at like 48,000. Like that's a nothing UFC video. And just like the turnout for this, like it looked very sparse. They only took a couple of questions and like maybe 3 or 4 questions, and then it was over. It was done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Could this be Dana, being sort of like the master visionary, perhaps, that his legacy with the UFC has sort of I don't know, afforded him the title of, or did he get lucky with the UFC one time? And this is him thinking that he could do it again for something far more ridiculous.
This is all in the marketing and this show hopefully gaining some kind of traction, because I just don't find this that appealing, and I don't see like I would see this really struggling to sell tickets in this part of the world, and people going to cover this. Like I think their reliance is on MMA sites that, because of the Dana connection, will go and cover this, and I just don't see a whole lot of MMA sites putting a budget together of sending people to go cover this. Like it just feels too off the path. And anyway, so that was the press conference today, and the most noteworthy thing is the TV deal. Like TBS sees something in this.
That was That's shocking to me, honestly.
At a time when they are cutting things, like I don't think they're just putting this on. This is some barter deal. Like I'm sure they're getting paid for this. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, like they have, they are developing more programming for AEW, but like Ring of Honor is this big question mark, and they're probably fielding these pitches at the same time of Ring of Honor and slap fighting.
But notably, remember that article from that executive at Warner? She
out of the ring content.
She was talking about more reality-based reality show types of things that are kind of like shoulder programming for sports leagues. So
and that's what this is.
This makes sense. And you know what? Maybe if you're Tony Khan, I mean, we we've heard reports of them beginning production on their reality show, picking that back up from whatever it was supposed to be. So maybe that's the focus that we should be expecting.